Hello everyone, welcome back again to the Education Diary. First of all, let me just check if my voice is coming properly or no. Alright, I think so the voice is fine now, right? So let's start with the today's lecture, which is again going to be for the Cisco Packet Tracer. So I'm going to my this one, Cisco Packet Tracer, and I'm going to be executing the Cisco Packet Tracer software. And of course, we are going to be working on this particular software like we did yesterday. Alright, so let's wait so that it can execute. Alright, so now it's working. So I hope so you are enjoying the webinars, guys, right? Like we are working really hard and getting some time also for you guys to create or bring some of the good IT stuffs, right? So next week, let me inform in advance that next week we are going to be having the cloud platform. So next week we are going to be having webinar on cloud platform. All right, so we are going to be working on some Amazon AWS cloud platform in a very easy manner. All right, so yesterday we have done some network configurations on the router 2811. We connected one PC and we were having some connections. Today we are going to be moving forward with the same fundamental. So let me just take the routers, and I'm going to be taking multiple routers, right? So it's going to be taking some time, but it's fine. All right, so we are going to be having almost how many routers? So we are having 7 routers. That means we have to configure 7 times, and we have to remember the IP addresses of around 14 IP addresses we have to remember. But for your conveniency, I'm just going to be writing the IP address if the software basically allows me. So yep, there is one this router, so I'm just going to be deleting this router because I don't need this router. All right, so how can I delete this? I can simply select this particular function, and if I click here, so yep, I want to delete this router. So yeah, overall you can see right now we are having 7 routers, and I don't want to delete this one. So first of all, we are going to be doing 2 examples today to understand. So let's take the automatic cable, which is going to be fast Ethernet. If you remember, then on every router we are having 2 ports. All right, so we are going to be connecting in such a way, and yeah, here we are. So we can go and we can try for showing us the port numbers, because right now it is not displaying the port numbers. Where is the port numbers? From where? Disable, align, play sound, always show port labels. All right, so this option is really important, which is going to be showing the port numbers so that we can easily understand that yes, f0 by 0 is connected with the f0 by 1, and based on the information of the port numbers we have, we can actually assign the IP addresses. All right, so yep, here we are, and let's assign the IP address. I think so that I can take some boxes here so that I can make you understand. uh, I think so it should be able to understand. Like yesterday I really tried. So here you can see that I'm getting this kind of page, which is really annoying, right? So all right, so we can try to write here the IP addresses. All right, so let's go to the first router, and we are going to let's select this one, select fill color, outline, no fill color. So let's take the fill color yellow. So this is going to be creating a very good visualized manner so that you can understand that how the things are working. All right, so yep, this is going to be your first network area. That means since f0 by 0 we are having f0 by 0 port connected. And let's take another color so that we are going to be creating some boundaries so that you can understand. All right, so here we are going to be taking this particular thing. Let's do okay, and we are having these 2 port numbers together. Let's take another color so that we can have a good visualized manner so that you can also understand easily. After that, f0 by 1 is going to be connected with f0 by 0. Let's take another. After that, f0 by 1 is going to be connected with f0 by 0 here. Let's take another. This F0 by 1 of this router is going to be connected with this F0 by 0, and this F0 by 1 is going to be connected with F0 by 0. Alright, so this is just telling you or giving you an idea, because if you're new, so you have to understand that this port is connected with this port. That means these both of the interfaces are on the same area, right? Then these two ports are on the same area, but you have to understand that yes, these two of different areas are based on the same router. Alright, so since like you can understand, alright, these are on the same area, this is on the same area, this is on the same area. So based on the same area, we have to assign IP addresses. So let's go to the router 1. F0 is connected with the F0. If I click here, alright, so it's still connected. Alright, so now let's go to the router 1. Let's go to the CLI, no, enable. If you remember the yesterday's command, it is quite easy. So let's select the port INTF 0 by 0, IP address. Let's take 192.168.1.12, oops, 1.12.255.255.255.0, and after that NSH. Alright, so I think so that's for the first F0 by 0 configuration of this one. So let me write the IP address so that you can understand easily. Alright, so where I can write, let's try to write here. So the IP address is going to be 192.168.1.12. Alright, so yep, here is the IP address on this particular, we can say, port number. So let's assign the IP address here. Alright, I'll try to delete these kind of things. So yep, that's good. Now let's go to the router 2 for the F0 by 0, and we are going to assign the IP address here, which is going to be 192.168.1.21. So 1.21. So yep, this is going to be the IP address on this particular port number. So you can see that we are having third place 1.12, 1.21. So it is easy to remember the IP addresses. Alright, so let's assign the IP address on F0 by 0. So no, enable config INTF 0 by 0 IP address 192.168.1.21 and the subnet mask NSH, and that's it. So if I'm going back on the router, so here you can see that yes, the ports are now green, which actually shows us that yes, the connection has been established from this particular port to this particular. So I can actually ping these IP addresses with each other. So right now we are going to be assigning the IP address on this port, which is F0 by 1. So let's take that one. So the IP address is going to be 192.168, and remember that you have to change the third position number. So it's going to be 2 this time. And we are going to be taking 23, right? Why I'm taking 23? Because the number 23 tells me that yeah, the 2 is the router 2 and 3 is basically router 3. So it becomes easy to remember the IP addresses. All right, so the port number F0 by 1 is going to be having 23. So it's 23 basically means 2 and 3. And remember, on the same router, when you are taking another interface, so you have to change the third position number. All right, let's go to the router 2 again, CLI. Let's go to the INT F0 by 1, which is the another interface, IP add 192.168.2.23 and the subnet mask NSH. So yep, that's it. Now if I go back here, so the IP address has been assigned on F0 by 1. We have to make sure to go F0 by 0 and assign another IP address. So let's do that. So 192.168.2.32. Now why 32? Because router 3 is connected with the second router. On F0 by 0, we have to assign this IP address. Let's go. So no, enable config INTF 0 by 0 IP add 192.168.2.32 and the subnet mask. So yep, it's done. And if I go back, so you can see that the ports are basically now green, which actually means or tell us that yes, this area connection has been established in the orange area. So the yellow area has been established, the orange area has been established. Now we have to go to the green and we have to configure the IP address on F0 by 1. Now again, on the same router, when the ports are different, so the third number is going to be changed. All right, so this time it's going to be what? 3. All right, so let's assign 192.168.3.34. Why 34? Because of course 34 means 3 is connected with the router 4. So this IP is going to be assigned on F0 by 1. So let's go on the CLI int F0 by 1 IP add 192.168.3.34 and subnet mask NSH. And if I do SHIP int BRI, so we can actually see the IP addresses. So here you can see that yes, we are having the IP addresses being assigned, right? All right, so this IP has been assigned on this particular port. Now it's really confusing, right? You can see that how confusing it is to remember the IP addresses. That's why I am writing each and every IP address which is being assigned on that particular port number. Now I'm going to assign IP address on the port number F0 by 0. So 192.168.3.43. All right, so we have to make this IP address on F0 by 0. Let's go. So enable conft int F0 by 0 IP add 192.168.3.43 subnet mask NSH, and that's it. So now both of the ports basically became green. So that means yes, the connection has been established. Now on the F0 by 1, we have to assign another IP address. This time we are going to be taking the third position as 4 with 45. Let's do that. So 192.168.4.45. So yep, we have to assign this IP address on F0 by 1. Let's go. So int F0 by 1 IP add 192.168.4.45 subnet mask NSH, and that's it. Now once you basically remember the commands, once you basically become good in commands, so you're going to be doing it pretty fast. All right, so commands are really important when you're configuring. Now we are going to be assigning 4.54 on F0 by 0. So 4.54 192.168.4.54. So this IP is going to be assigned on this particular port, which is going to be F0 by 0. Let's go. So enable conft int F0 by 0 IP add 192.168.4.54 subnet mask NSH, and that's it. So here you can see that the ports has been turned into green, right? So till now everything is working really fine. So that if I'm going to be pinging these IP addresses with each other, so they can actually give us the 100% success rate. Now the problem comes is that if I'm going to ping this IP address with this IP address with the another area, it's not going to be working because we are in this region. And if I want to ping the IP address of another region, it's not going to work. Until unless me and my friend are in the same region, we can actually ping each other devices, we can communicate with each other devices. But as soon as my friend goes to any other area, so I cannot actually ping, right? So this works in the real life also, that suppose if I'm sitting in India and I want to access a website which is in America. So of course, if the rule has been implemented into a server or router, then I can access. Otherwise, I may not be able to access into American, we can say, server or that website. So we have to implement some kind of protocols, right? Then only we can actually, sitting in India, we can access the website which is in US. We will see that in some time. Right now, let's assign IP address on F0 by 1 of router 5. So let's go here. It should be 5.56. So 192.168.5.56. So let's assign this IP address on F0 by 1. All right, let's go. So int F0 by 1 IP add 192.168.5.56 subnet mask NSH. All right, so it's been done on here. Let's go to the F0 by 0 of router 6. So the IP address should be 5.65. 192.168.5.56. 5.65. All right, so it's being done here. Awesome. So let's go to the router 6 and port number F0 by 0. So no enable conf t intf 0 by 0 IP add 192.168.5.65 and the subnet mask. So it's done, and I think so. Yeah, the ports are green. Right now the connection has been established between this area. The last area is this one, so let's assign IP address. The third number is going to be 6.67. So it should be 192.168.6.67. Let's take this IP address here and let's assign this on F0 by 1. So intf 0 by 1 IP add 192.168.6.67 subnet mask. Alright, so it's done on this particular port. Now the only port is being left is F0 by 0 of router 7. So the IP address is going to be 6.76 192.168.6.76. So let's assign this IP address on F0 by 0 of router 7. So no enable conf t intf 0 by 0 IP add 192.168.6.76 .0 NSH. Yep, now it's done. All right, so yeah, it's really confusing, right? Because I'm having so many IP addresses right now. So we are having almost 14 IP addresses, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, almost 12 IP addresses, right? So it's really hard to remember all kind of IP addresses on which port which IP has been assigned. It's really difficult. Now let's try to have some pinging, right? Let's try from 1.12 pinging 1.21. So once again enable. So I'm going to be having do ping. So let's go into the global mode first of all, config terminal. So do ping 192.168.1.21 and we should be getting some reply, right? So yeah, we are having 100% success rate. But as soon as I'm going to be taking any other IP address apart from this IP address, it is going to be failed. Suppose if I take 2.23, let's go here back and let's take 2.23. So yeah, here you can see that it's not going to be working because the area is totally different, right? The region is totally different. So when the region is different, so we have to implement any kind of we can say protocol in order to that get access to the another region. So you can see that success rate is 0% here. All right, so let's implement. So that's totally, you can understand that yes, the yellow IP addresses can ping with each other, the orange one, the green one can do with each other. But as soon as I try to ping the IP address of some other regions, maybe suppose if I want to get access to this IP address from this router, so it has to pass from all these routers, right? So till now our connection is established till this port, but we want to have a connection being established on this port, this, and at the last we can actually access this 6.76. So suppose if I just take the IP address 6.76, so do ping 6.76. So again you will see that it's not able to work because the connection is only in our region, but we want the connection till the last, right? So let's implement something. Now the best thing which we are going to be implementing is the OSPF protocol, but it can be RIP protocol, EIGRP protocol, RIP version 2 protocol, BGP protocol. Now there are tons and tons of protocols which we can implement, but the easiest and the most beneficial or the advantageous protocol is the OSPF, which is the open shortest path first. So we are going to implement this particular protocol on every router. So on the first router I'm going to be taking command router OSPF 100. So after that I'm going to be checking the IP addresses which are implemented on this router. There is only one IP address, so let's assign this IP address in OSPF. So we are going to take net 192 and we are going to taking the whole IP address 168.1.12. 0.0.0. Now this 0.0.0 is basically the backbone or the universal IP address. We are going to be taking one area, which is the short form is going to be a space. Now you can take any number you want. Here also I've just taken router OSPF 100, so you can take any number you want, but you have to make sure that the same number should be implemented on every router. The area should be implemented same on every router, otherwise the area is going to be different. So it is going to be only giving us connection between that area. So you can get area access from 1 to 3rd router or 1 to 4th router, and based on that, right? But right now I'm going to be implementing the area 1 to all the 7 routers, so that it will be easy for us to communicate from the 1st router to the 7th router. So now on this router the configuration has been done pretty easy. Same we have to do on the router 2nd and vice versa, right? So let's do enable conft router OSPF 100. So we have to check the IP addresses, do sh IP int bri. So here you can see on this router we are having 2 IP addresses. So let's assign both of the IP addresses in the OSPF 1.21 0.0 area 1. So we are going to be doing same net 192.168.2.23 0.0.0 area 1. All right, now let's go to the 3rd router. CLI enable conft router OSPF 100. So do sh IP int bri. So again we are going to be assigning the IP addresses 192.168.2.32 0.0.0 area 1. Now we are going to be getting a message, if I'm not wrong. Let's wait. We are going to be getting a message on this router loading full to done or something like that. All right, so let's see if we get the message. Then we are going to be assigning the 2nd IP address into the OSPF. All right, so let's wait. If you don't get the message, we can proceed. It doesn't really matter. Maybe it will take some time, but let's see if we can get some message or something like loading full to done. Otherwise we can go again. So let's assign the another IP address, net 192.168.3.34. all right, so here you can see we got a message, right? So now we have to take this one, all right, or 3.34 0 area 1. All right, so I think so the IP address has been assigned on both of this one. So we got the message. This is a message we should get on every router. Router number 3 has been done. Let's go to the router number 4. Enable conft router OSPF 100. Do sh IP int bri. We are going to assign net 192.168.3.43 0.08. area is going to be 1. We are going to assign the another IP. We are again going to be getting message, but let's assign the another IP address as well. So here you can see we got the message, and yep, we have assigned the 2nd IP address as well. Let's go to the router number 5. Alright, so router OSPF 100. Do sh IP int bri. Alright, so these are the IP addresses which we need to assign for the OSPF. Let's do that. Net 192.168.4.54. backbone IP, area is 1. Now again we are going to be getting a message 5.56 0.0.0 area 1. Let's wait. We are going to be getting the message in some time. Of course, loading full to done. So let's see if we get the message on this router as well. So if you are getting the message of loading full to done, so that means you are going in a right way. That means from the 1st router we can basically get access to this router, or maybe the router which is before this, right? So let's see if we can get a message. All right, so we get the message. That's great. So yeah, now we can go with the router number 5. All right, so router number 5 has been done. Sorry, let's go to the router number 6. Alright, router OSPF 100, do sh IP int bri. Let's assign the IP addresses .5.65 area 1 net 192.168.6.67 area 1. Now of course we have to wait for the message on this router. Alright, so it's done. I think so. We are having last router, maybe, yeah, last router is left on, so let's go to the 7th router. And I think so there is only one IP address here, so router OSPF 100, do ship int bri. So let's assign this one net 192.168.6.76 backbone IP, and I think so we should get message on this router as well, but this is the last router. All right, if you don't get message, that's fine, right? So yep, let's go. And now let's try to get this IP address as pinging, right? Let's try from the first router to get pinging from the last router. So let's go here 6.76. So we have this one. Now let's try. So now you can see that we are having the success rate 100%, even though the number of the third position is changed, it's 6, but still we are having the connection. That means I can connect or I can try to ping any IP address on any router, doesn't really matter. Let's go onto the router 7 and let's try to ping the IP address of the first router, which is 1.12. So do ping. Now I'm on router 7, right? So do ping 192.168.1.12, and that is 100% success rate. But before implementing the protocol, we were having 0% success rate. So that is the importance of the protocols in our life and the devices. Of course, Google is also working on OSPF, right? Because it is giving us some access towards the website we request. The YouTube streaming is also being done on the OSPF because you can see the streaming from your country or from any other country. But suppose if the YouTube stream has been blocked or the area of the OSPF has been changed, so you cannot actually see the streaming or you cannot access the website unless you are not using VPN, right? So that is actually the very important part of the router section. Now let's delete all this and let me just tell you something which is really important. So let's delete this router if it can work. All right, so it's deleted, and we just need one router. All right, we just need one router and it's one configuration, so nothing else. So I think so we can delete this as well. All right, so we just need one router. Let's zoom in. Now this router is having the IP address 1.12 on its interface, which is F0 by 0, right? So if I do ship int bri, so you can see that there is only one IP address which is being assigned. But suppose if a router turns off because if the electricity goes off or any kind of problem happens, then this is the back router. Suppose if I turn off the machine from here, now here if you see there is a small button, if I click here, then the machine is off right now. If I go into the CLI, you can see that device must be powered on. Now let's go and turn it on. So now if I turn it on, so you can see that it is loading. Right now the machine is rebooting or restarting, and let us give it some time. Alright, so again you can see that we are having the configuration boxes, no, enable, conft, but if right now I'm going to do ship int bri, so you can see that the IP address has been gone. So as soon as your device basically turns off and turns on, so the IP configurations are gone, or any kind of configurations, even OSPF has been gone. So for this, the network engineers basically save the configuration. So how we can save the configurations in a router? Let's see that. So suppose if I just assign the IP address intf 0 by 0 IP add 192.168.1.12 NSH, Now if I'm going to do this command, so the IP is being assigned, but suppose again if I'm going to be turning off the machine, turning on, so the IP address and the configurations will be gone. So in order to save the configuration, we are having a very small command which is do write. So do write is basically going to save our configuration and we will check it in a moment. So suppose if I hit enter, so you can see that there is a message which is a building configuration okay. Now if we turn off the machine and if we turn on the machine back, now again it is rebooting or reloading, and after that we are going to be checking do ship int bri and we can see our IP address. So we don't need to configure again, right? So return to get started, enable conf t do ship int bri. So yes, you can see that our IP address is still here. Now we don't need to configure the IP address. All right, so this is one of a very great thing. You need to understand that, yep, we can actually save our configurations on a router. We can program on a router. So suppose if I go into the config, so here, by the way, if you are not comfortable in using CLI, you can also go to the config directly, and you can go here on the interfaces. You can select F0 by 0 and you can basically assign IP address directly from here without using the commands. But again, I would suggest you to go for the commands because it basically gives you more confidence in how you can use configurations in real life by using terminal. All right, you can select F0 by 1. So here you can see in the bottom, it is automatically selecting by automating the commands. So you don't need to write the commands. All right, so that is something which you can go for. But as usual, now you are going to be having tons and tons of things here. Like suppose I can take a laptop, I can basically take a server, and of course a server is a kind of database. So we can basically have a server and the server is basically connected with the laptop. We can basically take wires to connect with the laptop, and here you can see that what is going to be looking in a real life. So I don't want this one, I just need this one to delete. So let's select, so delete. So yep, now here you can see that a server is basically connected with the laptop and a server is a database. If I go onto the server, now this is going to be the back board or the back of a server. Now I can go into the config, I can basically have some fast Ethernet, right? I'm going to be taking an IP configuration DHCP so that it automatically assigns an IP address onto my server without even having any problem. And here you can see that an automatic IP address has been assigned. Now there are some services. Now in a server there are different type of services: HTTP request, browser request, DHCP requested DHCP, which basically helps us to convert an IP address into the name, which is also known as DNS, domain name system. DNS, here you can see syslog, AAA, email, FTP, file transfer protocol, and IoT. But right now if I go on my laptop, I can go onto the config. So you can see that this is the view of a laptop. You can actually increase the port numbers. If I go here, I'm going to be taking DHCP automatically, so that it is going to be automatically assigning an IP address based on the server, right? So here you can see that it has already assigned. So I'm not sure what is the IP address of a server. So let's see what is the IP address. We are having the IP address. What was that? So that is basically 169.254.193.410. It's really hard to remember. Let me just write this IP address. So it's going to be 192. Oh, that's 169. So 169, that's 254.193.41. So yep, previously we were using 192, but right now this has been changed. So suppose if I ping the server from my laptop, so if I go into the desktop and if I go to the command prompt, so let's ping. So the IP address is 169.254.193.41. So here you can see that I'm getting responses from the server, right? So there is 0% loss. That is, yes, I am basically connected with the server and I can send or upload or download anything from the server. So server is almost a database, right? So basically we can implement some kind of, we can say configurations here, some algorithm. If you want to implement, we can implement that as well. We are having some settings, what kind of thing you want, your display name. So yeah, we are having some services like DHCP, how many IP addresses you want to get access to your server. If you want to block that IP address, so you can actually block that IP address as well. So that's totally up to you. All right, so I think so we are having something with the HTTP request. If I make the HTTP request, we can say, yep, suppose if I basically go to the index.html, right? So basically if I go on the index.html, I can see something. Let me just try going onto the laptop, desktop. We are having web browser. So now this again thing is working in, you know, that Linux or into this laptop. So if I write the IP address here, 169, now this IP address is of server 254.193.41. If I hit enter, so you can see that nothing has been displayed. Let's click on go. All right, so nothing has been displayed. Let's go for index.html. So if I hit enter, so yep, there is no configuration in index.html if I'm not wrong, right? So there might not be any configuration which has been done onto the server's HTML page. So if I go to the services, HTTP, so we are having this index.html. So we can basically have this one also, right? So the HTTP service is being on, HTTPS is being on, DHCP is fine. So yep, let's turn this one on. Some of these services might be off, so we have to turn it on. First of all, let's see. TFTP is on, DNS is off, so let's do DNS on. syslog is on, AAA is, so let's turn it on as well. So authentication enable, email is not required, FTP is on, IoT is not required. So now let's go again back to the laptop and see if we can actually access the browser or not. So yep, what was the IP address? 169.254.193.41. So I think so it's not working. Index.html. All right, so we have to write some code, then only it's going to be working, right? So yeah, we have to write some code. All right, but still, like, you get an idea that how actually the things are working, right? So we are having MIB browser, we can basically have some IP communicator, we can implement a firewall in our laptop. Now this firewall is basically inside a laptop, right? A software firewall, not a hardware firewall. But yeah, you are having tons and tons of things. You can actually use TFT services. You're having email options, how you can actually send email from this computer to this server, and the server is going to be saving your email, right? The Bluetooth option is there. So there are tons and tons of requests. We are also having SSH client. So now let's see if we can actually get some SSH connection or SSH, right? So 169.254.193.41, right? So username, I'm not sure what is the username, but let's try to hit connect. Username field cannot be empty, so I think so the username is server 0, because that is something which was written there. So if you remember, when we were using Ubuntu and Windows operating system, so we were using SSH to try to connect with a different machine. We were using SSH command, right? The current session has closed. Do you want, so let it be, right? So we might need to configure the server based on these requests. We are having some programming section here. You can actually have a new project and you can implement by using some JavaScript, or you can write some Python code or any kind of thing, right? You can even use Blink. So yeah, we are having Python, so you can actually use Python here, right? And then you can actually generate a Python code based here. So I think so, like, it's really easy. Now in the desktop or the server, you are having again IP configurations, terminal, VPN, web browser. So yeah, you're having multiple things you can actually try on. But again, this webinar is not going into the very deep so that I can tell you, all right, so this is something you can do. No. So the only important thing is that, yes, see how the things actually works. All right. So if I go into the DHCP, you can see we are having some server pool, so it's fine. On the fast Ethernet, which is again fine. So from this to this, all right, so everything is really fine. All right, so yeah, that's it for the Cisco Packet Tracer or the networking. Now again, you're having tons and tons of options here, right? You are having miscellaneous different devices, you are having cloud technology, you are having some MCU board or SBC board, you're having some sensors which you can use. Here you can see fire sensor, LED sensors, and so many different sensors, speakers also. All right, so you can actually work on all these things. And one of a very great thing, you can actually go and check out for the simulation here. So this is something a kind of like, or if you go into the real time, so this is something the real time looks like. If I go here in an image, so actually we can that import an image as well here. All right, so if I go here, I think so there might be the real time, but so yep, this is something, the environments which you can actually look on, right? So suppose if this location is intercity, because this is working in a real time, so here you can see that the things are selected on a real time. So how many gases or the server is basically releasing and something like that. So you are basically getting an idea in the real time that if there is a server and if there is a PC or a laptop, how much percentage of different kind of gases will they release, right? So it's basically in intercity. You can actually go in the home city, or you can go into the corporate office. Suppose if they were in the corporate office, then how will they actually look and what type of gases they are going to be releasing. So suppose if this is the view of the office, right? So here you can see that this is a server, right, where the server has been kept and your laptop is being connected with the server. All right, by the way, you can actually change that as well if you want. You can go to the home city main writing closet or on the rack. So here you can see that this is going to be based on the rack. So that means I am sitting on my table and I'm directly connected with my computer at my home. So this is something, the view which you can actually check, you can actually go on and check. But as usual, if everything is working in intercity, so you can see that this is going to be looking like that. All right, so yep, you're having tons and tons of things here to check on if you want to really go into the CCNA or network or industry. So you have to study all these different kind of protocols. I hope so guys, you really enjoyed the webinar. And if you have any kind of problems or doubts, make sure to send email to the education diary. If you have any problems, comment down on the live session so that we can reply you. Take care everyone, bye bye.